I honestly, I cannot believe that I actually have to do this episode. And I'll explain as we move along. But it absolutely boggles my mind.
Yes. Oh, that's
That, of course, was the launch of the Artemis II a couple days ago, April 1st. And almost as soon as it launched, all the pages that peddle conspiracies started in with its fake. We're not really going. This is all a green screen production, even though there were thousands of people in attendance to watch it take off. Millions of people around Florida watching it take off from their homes. And also pictures from airplanes that were already in the air on a flight, taking videos and pictures of it as it busted through the cloudscape. But no, the deniers refuse to believe, and they start nitpicking stuff almost immediately, like they were ready for it. And I've talked ad nauseum on this podcast for years about having verifiable proof, and stuff that they're showing isn't proof. It's misinterpretation. And we've talked about that a lot when it comes to ufology. Lots of misinterpretations on things. Like people saying there was a zip line when they don't realize that it was where they entered the capsule and it was leaving and zipping past when it took off. Let's just go through it, because I'm just going to sit here and get more and more annoyed. But we can't exactly just ignore these people, can we? Because at least for me, no, they're absolutely 100% filling my algorithm, because I watch stuff like this to get content for the podcast. So let's go, shall we?
Stop the fucking cap. If you believe this shit for 1 second, you're on something that I don't know if you can be helped. One of these guys up here openly said, "This is going to be the first time we're going to the moon." Brother, we've never been to the moon.
And of course, that's what you conspiracy folks love to do. You take things either out of context or you cut off the quote to fit your narrative. Kind of like the whole Buzz Aldrin thing with the little girl, where she said, "How come we haven't been back? I'd like to know that too." Like he was trying to hide something. That's why Buzz Aldrin punched people back in the day, because they ask the most asinine stories. Kind of like that quote about us never being there. Well, you cut it off because it fit your narrative. You didn't listen to the whole quote, but that's what you folks do. You hear what you want to hear and automatically believe it.
I can assure you of that. Dating back to the 1970s or whenever we did Apollo 11, none of those astronauts were on this craft trying to go to the moon. I believe it was called the Challenger and it blew up. And it was a hoax.
No, it was not a hoax. And for the record, the Challenger, when it exploded, wasn't going to the moon. It was a space shuttle. It was going into orbit, was not going to the moon. And yes, it did actually happen. And I know that kind of third hand. How do I know that? Because Christy McCullough, who was the teacher that was aboard it that passed away when it exploded, well, one of my teachers in high school was actually a finalist to be chosen to go on that mission. So he was extremely shook up when that thing exploded, because that could have been him. Is my biology teacher in high school part of this grand cabal to sell us all a bill of goods?
This is Artemis, and allegedly it's supposed to go up to the moon and come back. How in the hell is that going to happen? They don't even have enough gas for that.
You really shouldn't speak on propulsion if you don't know the first thing about it, because it isn't about the amount of fuel that it has. The amount of fuel predominantly is to get it out of our atmosphere. Once it's in space, it doesn't need anything, because whatever propulsion it has, it will continue to go at that speed until some other body's gravity pulls it in, or it uses its thrusters to adjust and land on a place. Or in the case of Artemis, it's going to use its thrusters to achieve or slingshot around the moon. Kind of the same way when it comes back. So, no, it doesn't need gas like you're driving a car. Once you get into space, there's nothing slowing you down like gravity and inertia here. It would just keep floating and floating at the same speed that it left the orbit.
If you watch the flight of the actual craft, it doesn't shoot straight, it goes like that. And then it runs.
Okay, he's going to mention the firmament here in a minute, and we'll cover that. But I got a quick little video after his to explain why it didn't go straight up into the air, why it seemed to curve after it got a certain height.
Runs out of fuel and it disappears. Let's logically think about this. To get to the moon, you would have to pierce through the firmament, which you know you can't pierce through the firmament.
And there you have it. The conspiracy, the moon deniers, and the flat earthers' favorite buzzword, the firmament. They took it out of context, mind you, straight out of the Bible, and they crafted it to mean exactly what they want. This impenetrable force field that keeps us all from floating away, whether we live on a globe or whether we live on a flat earth. There's a firmament keeping us all in nice, safe, and tidy. However, there is no such thing, unless you want to count gravity, but we can. But some people would say we can't get through the Van Allen belt. which has been proven numerous times that we can. But you just hear radiation and think we can't go through it. Yes, we can.
And they also say that the moon is inside the firmament and we don't have enough gas to get to the moon. Furthermore, they did this on April 1st. And if you look up what April 1st means, it has nothing to do with what we think. It has everything to do with Lucifer. And NASA means to deceive. It also means Satan. None
April 1st means Lucifer and or Satan, which I know people like to use Lucifer and Satan as being the same, but they're absolutely not. That's the first time I've heard April 1st means Lucifer, though. It's okay, whatever.
these people are qualified. You can believe what you want.
Those people need to be more qualified. You're talking about gas getting us up into space, but yet those astronauts need to be more qualified. Okay.
But we've never been to the moon.
He can believe what he wants. That's perfectly within his rights. But sometimes you can believe something and you're shown a fact, you're going to be completely wrong. Because there were thousands of people in attendance to watch that thing launch. Millions upon millions of people watching it on TV and online. And millions of people in Florida from their homes seeing it launch. Not to mention we've seen people post videos that were on airplanes that filmed it during their flight. So all of those people are part of this grand conspiracy of faking this launch to the moon. But hey, let's take a look at why he mentioned that it turned to the side. Watch exactly how the Artemis mission is going to go. It doesn't go straight up to the moon, then circle it and come straight back. Watch what it does. Makes a big 2 loops around the Earth, then goes to the moon, and then comes back. Now, why does it do that? It's called building up speed from being in orbit, a launch point, or some people, if you want to use the Star Trek vernacular, a slingshot effect, using the gravitational force to slingshot you towards the moon. Little bit less gasoline, as that guy said, when you do it that way. And once they got into space, they started to release some pictures of where they were at and do interviews. I'm not going to share the interview portion. People are nitpicking that one apart too. But we got this awesome picture of the Earth when they escaped our atmosphere. And people are immediately saying it's fake. But don't take my word for it.
Y'all, as if this couldn't get any more hilariously fake, this is a picture of the Earth that Artemis II sent back from their moon mission that they're on. Now, I want you to look real closely. Do you notice anything? The thing that you should be noticing is that little teeny dot right down there below the Earth. It's actually on the back side of the Earth.
Yeah, that's called a star. But what he's not telling you is this is sort of already been admitted to be boosted by color or exposure to make it more vibrant. But why it's lit up isn't because of the sun, because the sun's actually on the opposite side of the earth. It's getting lit up from moonlight. And people say moon doesn't give off any light. No, but it does reflect sunlight. So that is what's giving you this bright picture of the earth. But people won't believe that's possible. At least this guy's not going to. And a lot of people that don't believe that we're going anyways. And he doesn't believe that we can see the aurora borealis. And, well, just let him finish.
Okay, and it is shining light on the other side. So tell me, how is the earth lit up in this photo if the sun and the light is coming from behind it?
I just explained it to you. It's lit up from A, moonlight or sunlight that bounces off the moon and illuminates the earth. Kind of like the same thing you do if you point a flashlight into a mirror or a laser into a mirror. It'll bounce off and go on a different wall or wherever you happen to be pointing it. It's called reflection. The other reason, I told you, it's vibrant because of the exposure that it was taken in. But you don't want to hear that because it's too logical.
Please, someone tell me how that makes any sense.
I just did.
Second of all, this picture looks like the picture that they showed us back in the 60s. They look exactly the same, nothing new about it. And it
Yes, because the earth hasn't changed in 50 years, other than, you and I being on it. Did you think, it's like they reconstructed it, gave it a facelift or something?
also looks more AI than it did ever before. Okay? This
Why does it look any more AI than it did before? Please elaborate on that. Oh, but you won't. You're just going to throw out the buzzword. It looks like AI.
is just mind-blowing. The fact that we're in the year 2026 and people are actually looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, what an accomplishment. Oh my gosh, look at the earth, look at this, look at that. And you actually believe that Artemis II is actually on a mission around the moon and back. You are a fool, you are delusional, and you need to get something checked in your brain.
I think you need to go back to that entire sentence that you just said and heed the words that just came out of your mouth. Because you said it, it's 2026. And you refuse to believe that we're actually doing this. But yet you're doing this with all the computing power on your camera, on your phone, on your computer, whatever you're posting this video on. That has more computing power than the first time we went to the moon. And that entire lunar lander had less computing power than what you're posting that video with. Think about that. And here it is, 2026, and you refuse to believe it and saying that we all need to go have our heads checked. I think you have it backwards, son.
There is no mission to the moon. There is no moon. There is no space.
Yes, yes, and yes, there is. This video actually doesn't have any audio in it, and it's essentially just this screenshot for 10 seconds. So let's just stop and pause because it perfectly exemplifies what space and moon deniers are. NASA sending 4 astronauts around the moon and back in a few days, and no one cares because we all know, A, it's pretty hard to go back. That's them sticking on why haven't we? Why has it taken us almost 60 years to go back to the moon? And the explanation was, well, we lost the technology, which we did. The technology that we used to go in the 60s and 70s no longer exists because we have evolved, we have advanced, and so has technology. So we don't have the technology, but the deniers refuse to think that we just can't snap our fingers and create it again. Why would we? We have better technology now. Why go back in time? That's right. There's a certain segment of this population that's really striving to go back in time now. I'm not looking at the person on the screen with me, but maybe I am. If you looked at her page, you would know what I mean. The other thing is go back to a place that we have never been. And B, the only place they're really going is the green screen. Okay, this is the classic line that space and moon deniers have been using ever since moon denying has been a thing starting back in the 70s. Everything was created on a green screen. Well, just a few minutes ago, I just said, so the thousands of people that watched it launch in Florida, the millions of people that watched it on TV or on the internet, the millions of people that watched it from their houses in Florida, all the people in planes that saw it take off as they were flying by, all those people are part of this grand conspiracy, lying to everybody, keeping the secret that it was created behind a green screen or in front of a green screen. You people, honestly, I will give you credit for your imagination. That I will. But you wouldn't believe it if you watched it. It's kind of, and we're going to go back to the flat earth eventually on this podcast because it just doesn't seem to go away. And it doesn't matter how much proof that you're shown, even with your own eyes, you don't believe it because you've just convinced yourself that we can't go. And it's much easier to believe a lie than to accept the truth. So yes, we did go to the moon numerous times in the 60s and 70s. And yes, here in 2026, we are going again. We're not landing this time. We're just going around the moon, which I'm curious to see the pictures they take when they get on the quote backside of the moon, because conspiracy theorists will say that's where the alien moon bases are. So I'm waiting to see all those videos pop up. But I got sidetracked. We're not landing this time, but we are going back. And NASA's plan is actually to make a base eventually. When and if it ever happens, I don't know. I think it would be cool because there are a lot of materials that could help us here on Earth. And I'm not saying to turn the moon into this big mining project, but maybe that could happen. But yes, we did launch Artemis. There are 4 human beings in space right now. Whether you need to agree or believe that we can't go to space, space is fake, the moon is fake, we can't get through the firmament, we can't get through the Van Allen belt, you can choose to believe all of that stuff. Fact of the matter is, we are in space right now. There is no firmament unless you want to count it as the atmosphere, which we can penetrate. Yes, we can go through the Van Allen belt. It's a very strategic way of doing it, but you can do it. But I'm not saying this because I'm trying to convince moon deniers, because there's no convincing any of you. So if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to click like and subscribe. I don't have a closer for this, so I am going to actually just close with the entire launching of the Artemis II.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate beacon. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same?
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour.
Did you hear that? It hasn't even been 2 minutes yet in how far they've traveled. But wouldn't they already been stopped by the firmament? Sorry, I was just watching and regaling about things I've read.
Seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. We see confirmed separation. Main engines throttling up, guidance converged.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
Just for the flat earthers out there, what does that look like? Oh, that's right. That looks like curvature. Sorry.
Copy all, Stan.
So, if you don't believe that this actually happened, I would implore you to let me know in the comments. And don't just give me the buzzwords that everyone says, like we can't leave because of the firmament. Give me an example. Give me some proof as to why we can't. And don't give me the stupid launch zipline thing, because people just see that and think that's some kind of goof when it's not. So give me some proof if you don't think that we actually did launch this spacecraft. I would love to hear what you think in my comments. So let me know, because hell, even if you want to have an earnest debate, maybe I'll have you on this podcast for it. I don't have a closer for this. So I'll just simply close. We're back, baby. Back in space. It's a Futurama line. Never mind.